You know the drill. It's early March. You walk into the office lobby and boom,
Purple.
purple everywhere. There are cupcakes in the break room, purple frosting naturally. And you probably get an email from the CEO about empowerment that everyone just, skims and deletes.
Ah, yes. The annual corporate festival of Shrink It and Pink It.
Exactly. And look, I'm not anti-cupcake. Nobody is. But there's this heavy feeling in the corporate world right now. It's the feeling that by March 9th, the balloons are all deflated, the banners are in the trash, and the culture.
It hasn't budged an inch.
Not an inch. It feels like performative cardio, a lot of movement, but you're not actually going anywhere.
Well, it's what we call the event trap. Organizations love events. They're finite. You can check a box. But a culture shift, that's messy. It's infinite. And honestly, so many DEI initiatives fail because they treat International Women's Day like a victory lap instead of, say, a pit stop for some real maintenance.
Which brings us to the stack of digital papers we're unpacking today. We've got our hands on this pitch deck. It's titled The Reciprocity Circle. It's for International Women's Day 2026, and it's from a group called Men's Circle India. And I have to say, this is not your standard let's celebrate women presentation. It's actually kind of confronting.
It is. It's a very tactical document. It doesn't just list values. It creates a mechanism. And it goes right after the single biggest unspoken barrier to DEI progress.
The zero-sum mentality.
Exactly. The elephant in the room.
The idea that diversity, equity, and inclusion is a pie, right? And there's a fixed number of slices. So if we give more focus or opportunity to her, then he must be losing something.
Precisely. It's this undercurrent that DEI is for her, which means, by definition, it's not for him. I mean, if you look at the engagement data for traditional IWD events, male participation is usually abysmal.
Right.
And it's not because all men are villains. It's because the narrative has implicitly told them, this isn't your meeting. You're the problem we're here to discuss.
And this document just flips that table over. The big idea here is moving from what they call siloed growth. So women over here fixing themselves, men over there watching nervously, to a shared win ecosystem.
I like that framing.
What got me hooked is that they don't just talk about it philosophically. They have this really specific framework exercises, seating arrangements, the whole 9 yards to actually make it happen.
It creates a new premise. The document argues, and this is a direct quote that I think we really need to sit with, that for a workplace to be truly inclusive for women, it must be safe for men to evolve.
Safe for men to evolve. That is a sticky phrase, isn't it? It sounds almost counterintuitive for a Women's Day pitch.
It does.
I mean, usually the pitch is safe for women to lead or safe for women to speak. Why would you center men's safety?
Because you can't fix a system by only addressing the people that system marginalizes. You also have to address the system supposedly benefits, because that benefit often comes with a huge unseen cost.
Okay.
Look, if you have one group pushing for change women, asking for equity, and the other group is operating under these old rules of masculinity that forbid vulnerability or, change, you just get friction. You get resistance. This source is suggesting we stop treating men as the obstacle and start seeing them as fellow prisoners of a bad culture.
That leads us right into their core philosophy, which they call give to gain. They've got this table on the deck, the exchange equation. It's fascinating. It breaks down exactly what men give and gain, what women give and gain, and what the organization gets out of it.
It treats inclusion as a transaction of value, not charity.
Which is how business thinks. So let's look at that men column. This is where it gets nuanced. Under what they give, it lists active allyship, sure. But then it says they give the work of dismantling the Stoic Burden.
The Stoic Burden.
I paused on that one. We talk about toxic masculinity a lot, but Stoic Burden feels much more precise for a corporate setting.
It's incredibly precise. Think about the C-suite or even middle management. What's the expectation? You're decisive. You're unemotional. You have the answer. You never say, I don't know, and you definitely never say, I'm overwhelmed. That's the Stoic Burden. It's like this heavy armor men are handed on day one.
And the document argues that in this shared win model, men give by taking that armor off.
Right. By dismantling the burden, and in return, what do they gain? The chart is explicit.
Emotional resilience and reduced burnout.
That's a massive selling point. We're seeing burnout rates just skyrocket, particularly for men in corporate jobs. So this reframes DEI completely. It's not move over so she can have your seat. It's help us change the culture so you don't have a heart attack at 55 because you couldn't admit you were stressed.
It aligns their self-interest with the collective interest. Okay, so now let's look at the flip side. Women. What do they give in this equation?
Well, they give perspective, which is the obvious one.
Hmm.
But the counterpart to the Stoic burden is they give up the mask of perfection.
Oh, the mask of perfection. I think every woman listening just nodded her head.
Yeah.
It's that pressure, right? To be twice as good to get half as far. The idea that you can't make a mistake because you're not just representing you, you're representing all women in leadership.
It's a crushing cognitive load.
Yeah.
If you're constantly policing your tone, your appearance, your work to be unimpeachable, you have no brain space left for actual innovation. So the source is saying, in this circle, women give up the need to be perfect. They drop the mask.
And they gain psychological safety and a supportive network.
And when you put those two things together, men dropping the burden, women dropping the mask, you get what the organization gains.
Right. The deck lists cognitive diversity and a people-first brand, but really what you're getting is honesty. You stop getting the safest ideas and you start getting the truest ideas.
The deck calls this creating a brave space.
Yeah.
And they're very specific about distinguishing it from a safe space.
A safe space is where no one gets hurt.
Mm.
A brave space
is where things might get uncomfortable. But that's where the growth happens. It's designed for honest, unfiltered dialogue.
Which, let's be honest, is terrifying for most HR departments. Unfiltered dialogue sounds like a lawsuit waiting to happen if you don't manage it perfectly.
Oh, for sure.
Which is why I want to get into the mechanics.
Yeah.
They don't just say, go be brave. They provide a framework. AEAC, awareness, empathy, action, commitment. It's a 75 to 90-minute session, and the sequence is really rigid.
It has to be. You can't just throw people into a room and say, be vulnerable. You've got to grease the wheels.
Okay, so step 1, awareness, the bias audit. The deck describes this as a real-time, anonymous digital poll.
And that anonymity is the critical feature.
They show a mock-up of the results. It's a simple bar chart on a screen, one bar at 72%, the other at 28%. The goal is described as aligning the room.
Okay, so imagine you're in that room. You're sitting next to your boss, maybe someone you manage. The facilitator asks, who here feels pressure to hide their emotions?
No one's raising their hand. It's professional suicide.
Right. But if it's on your phone, anonymous. You answer truthfully.
And suddenly the screen shows that 85% of the room feels that same pressure.
Boom. That's the aligning moment.
Yeah.
It stops being men versus women or management versus staff.
Yeah.
It becomes the room versus the problem. You have visual proof that everybody is struggling, which immediately lowers the defenses before anyone even has to speak.
So once the data breaks the ice, they move to step 2, empathy. This is the fishbowl dialogue. Now, I've seen fishbowls done wrong where it's just people lecturing each other, but the setup here is very specific. It's about the geometry of the room.
Geometry matters. The visual shows 2 circles, right?
Yeah.
An inner and an outer.
Right. And in the inner circle, the deck mandates 3 men, 3 women, and 1 empty chair.
That empty chair, it's a classic therapeutic technique, but in a corporate setting. It is radical.
So what's its function here?
The inner circle discusses a prompt, something like, when was last time you felt you couldn't be yourself at work? The outer circle just listens. No talking, no interjecting.
It's just listening.
The empty chair represents the permeable nature of the conversation. If someone from the outer circle feels moved to speak, if the discussion sparks something they have to share, they can take the chair, but once they speak, they leave it, or someone else swaps out.
The source notes that this setup ensures unfiltered human stories take precedence over corporate jargon.
And that's the key. When you're sitting knee to knee in a small circle, it's very hard to speak in buzzwords. You can't say, I leveraged my synergies. You have to say, I was scared to tell my team I made a mistake. The physical proximity forces humanity.
And for the people in the outer ring, what are they doing?
They're learning the hardest skill of all, active witnessing. Men, in particular, are socialized to fix things. So if a woman shares a problem, the male instinct is often to jump in with a solution. The fishbowl forbids that. You have to just sit with the discomfort of her reality. That's where the empathy centers of the brain actually light up.
So we've had the data with awareness, we've had the stories with empathy. Now we get to step 3, action, the reciprocity lab.
This is the pivot. Empathy without action is just tourism. It's feeling bad for someone and then going to lunch.
The deck shows a workbook page, my give-gain plan. It asks for a specific commitment, and the source is really aggressive about specificity. It says, participants do not leave with vague notions of being better.
Yeah, no, I'll be a better ally. No, I'll try to listen more. Those are useless.
It asks for one specific, tangible way to support a colleague of a different gender in the coming week.
Okay, let's play this out. If I'm a male manager in that room, and during the fishbowl, I heard a female colleague say she gets talked over in meetings.
Part of her mask of perfection struggle.
Exactly. My action plan can't be I will support women. It has to be. In Tuesday's budget meeting, if Sarah's interrupted, I will interject and say, I'd like to hear the rest of Sarah's point.
That is so actionable, and it's reciprocal.
Right. And if I'm a woman and I heard a male colleague admit he feels judged for leaving at 5 p.m. to pick up his kids, the Stoic Burden, my action could be, when Dave leaves at 5 on Thursday, I will publicly validate it. I'll say, great work today, Dave. Enjoy the time with the kids, loud enough for the team to hear.
You're turning this massive, scary concept of DEI into a micro habit. It's low stakes, high impact.
And it reinforces that give-to-gain loop. I help you drop your burden, you help me drop mine. We become co-conspirators in changing the culture.
Which brings us to the final step. Step 4, commitment, the open palm pledge. I'll be honest, when I read that, I flinched a little. It felt a bit kumbaya.
I get that. Corporate skepticism is healthy. But think about the symbolism. A closed fist is fighting. A pointed finger is blaming. An open palm is. It's an offering.
So the deck describes it as a closing reflection, just to solidify these micro commitments.
Rituals matter. We spend so much time in corporate life engaging in cynical rituals, the eye rolls, the venting. Replacing that with a moment of real intentionality, even if it feels a little earnest, it seals the deal. It moves the commitment from your notebook into your body.
This is interesting you say that about rituals, because getting people to buy into this, it requires the right messenger. I want to zoom out to the creators of this deck, Men's Circle India. The source has a section, Why Us? That's really illuminating.
It is. It puts everything we just discussed into a very specific context.
They describe themselves as pioneers in holistic health for men, and they explicitly talk about specializing in cultural nuance. They mention navigating the Indian corporate landscape, balancing traditional expectations with modern progressive leadership.
That is a tension that exists everywhere, but it is amplified in India.
Yeah.
You've got a corporate sector that's modernizing at lightning speed, tech, finance, you name it. But you also have these deep-seated, centuries-old traditions about gender roles, hierarchy, and family duty.
So the Stoic Burden isn't just about being a tough boss. In that context, it's also about being the provider, the head of the family, the one who doesn't complain.
Exactly. The stakes for men dropping that mask in a traditional patriarchal structure are very high. They risk losing respect. So for Men's Circle India to come in and say, we are experts in men's health and we say it is healthy to evolve, that gives permission in a way an HR memo never, ever could.
It's the Trojan horse strategy, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah.
If you market a seminar as how to stop being sexist, nobody shows up. Or the people who do are already converted.
Right.
But if you market it as how to build emotional resilience and stop burning out, men show up. And once they're in the room, you can do the real work of equity.
By improving men's emotional health, you inevitably create a safer environment for women.
You fix the soil, not just the plant. If the soil is toxic, if men are stressed, repressed, acting out, the plant, which is inclusion, will never grow. You can plant all the purple cupcake seeds you want, but if the ground is hard and dry, nothing is going to change.
So let's look at the ROI. Because eventually, a CFO is going to see this deck and ask, why are we spending 90 minutes on this? The source lists 3 metrics: retention, brand, and performance.
Retention is the obvious one. People don't leave jobs, they leave toxic cultures. If I don't have to wear a mask, I stay. Brand is huge for Gen Z talent. They can smell a fake culture a mile away. But performance, through cognitive diversity, is the real prize.
We touched on this earlier, the whole idea of anxiety management.
Think about the payroll dollars that are wasted on anxiety. If a female executive spends 20% of her mental energy calculating how to speak without sounding bossy, and a male executive spends 20% of his energy hiding that he's struggling, that is 20% of your leadership's brain power just getting flushed down the toilet.
You're paying for 100% of their brain, but you're only getting 80%.
Exactly. This program promises to unlock that surplus. By debunking the stereotypes, you release that energy back into the actual work.
The source describes this as moving from passive coexistence to active co-creation.
Passive coexistence is the default state of most offices, right? We work near each other, we tolerate each other, we share a coffee machine, but we are essentially staying in our lanes.
And when stress hits, we retreat even further into those lanes.
Right. Active co-creation implies that we're building the culture together in real time. It means if I see you struggling with a stereotype, I step in. Not just because I'm nice, but because we have a deal.
The Reciprocity Circle.
It's an active contract between colleagues.
It's a compelling vision. It makes the purple cupcakes look even sadder in retrospect.
The cupcakes are fine,
Yeah.
but they're dessert. This is the main course.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it feels like we've gone from a simple pitch deck to, I don't know, the hidden costs of masculinity, the exhausting performance of perfection, and a mechanical way to break that deadlock.
And we've moved away from the idea that inclusion is something we do for women. It's something we do for the entire ecosystem.
That exchange equation is going to stick with me. The idea that everyone has skin in the game, men get their humanity back, women get their voice back.
And the company gets a functioning brain.
Yeah.
It's a win-win-win.
So here's a question for you listening right now. I want you to visualize that inner circle, the fishbowl. You're sitting there, the empty chair is right next to you, and the topic is the masks we wear.
It's a heavy question.
If you are truly brave, if you were in that brave space we talked about, what burden or what mask would you be willing to drop right there if you knew it would make the workplace better for the person sitting across from you?
Would you admit you don't know the answer? Would you admit you're tired?
That's the question that starts the change. Think about it. Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.